When you walk down these hallways, you'll mostly find king-size bedrooms, but take a walk with me in here. This is the most expensive room. Still a very active scene, even though it's been more than 2 hours since that shooting, and a very large police presence. A lot of agencies here. They've taped off a lot of this area here in the parking lot. A little bit of a joyride here, but it's this incredible innovation that Secretary Perry says really demonstrates the importance of the work here done at the national labs.
A couple months ago, they were administering 0.5 milligrams of naloxone. Now they're using 4 to 8 times as much.
For decades, they were only accepting cash, but future customers will be happy to know that they are now taking credit cards. We're still working to find out their condition, but take a look at the scene. When I got here to Gatlinburg earlier, it was just a blanket of smoke over this city. You could not see any flames, but now that it is night, you are definitely seeing that red glow. I'll just tell you a little bit about where we are. We're on Highway 321. Arson investigators are still at this house continuing their investigation. You can see a couple of them there on that porch. Many parents I've spoken to say they found out on Facebook or from their kids, and they say after seeing photos like this one, this crash deserves a phone call. Earlier, Rebecca said the water was all the way to the mid-calf. To put just a little bit more perspective, these bench seats completely covered with water. We're noticing the snow coming down a little bit harder, and it's sticking to my face, so this is quite a new experience for me.
A mother still grieving after her son and daughter were killed in a car crash 2 years ago.
Yeah, a memorial set up in Kodak in honor of Sarah and Tyler Rowland, but someone vandalized that tribute several weeks ago, and now, weeks later, a stranger seeing that memorial being vandalized, well, they replaced it with another.
Yeah, we sent WATE 6 on your side reporter Kelly Reinke to Kodak to talk to the mother and to take a look at the memorial.
On the side of this windy road in Kodak, drivers quickly pass by.
That's amazing.
But Tanya Rowland pauses here frequently.
It just warms my heart. It's a great feeling.
A humbling moment for a grieving parent.
This is where my life changed.
This spot marks the place where she lost her only 2 children, Sarah and Tyler, in a car crash 2 years ago.
That's originally from my daughter's car.
Pieces from Sarah's car are still here, but this post,
I don't know who put this together,
is new. A stranger putting this up after another memorial was torn down.
They did it on the root of it.
Someone vandalizing the tree and mementos placed here several weeks ago. Those precious items resting there since the accident.
Their final resting place, that's all I have left. I don't understand why people would want to take that.
So now looking up at this unexpected surprise.
Wow.
More than 2 years after the crash is urging Tanya to look for the person behind it.
Really would love to hug that person's neck and let them know just how much this truly means to me.
To thank them for keeping her children's memory alive.
Who wouldn't want to meet a person like that?
Wow, your heart just breaks even 2 years later watching her out there. And Kelly's joining us live from Kodak right there at that memorial site.
You know, Kelly, this is obviously something very special here. You say this is the first time that she actually saw that new memorial.
Yeah, Ryan, and that's because a friend of one of her 2 children who passed away, he says he passes this memorial every time he comes home from school, and he noticed this new memorial that you can see right behind me, and so he let Tanya know, and so that's when Tanya came here. And a very emotional day. You can definitely tell that those emotions are still raw even 2 years later. And you see a third name there, Joshua. Let's not forget him. He also lost his life that day. He was a friend of Sarah and Tyler. And something interesting that Tanya told me earlier today as well, she has actually never met the first responders that came to the scene of that car accident 2 years ago, and she's right now in the works of trying to meet those first responders for the first time, and she expects to do that very soon. Ryan and Kristen, back to you.
If you use creativity and good ideas, you can keep the world interested in a cause.
Jeremy Cowart is showing that creativity with a drone and a mattress.
Put a white Stark mattress in the middle of these destroyed homes.
A contrast of what's left of Kristen Compton's home in Gatlinburg and her family on an untouched mattress.
This is where one chapter ends and a new one begins.
The idea is to show strength, lying where the nursery of her 9-month-old baby used to be.
Moving, very emotional.
This is a big mess, a big tragedy.
Jeremy thought it was necessary to drive from Nashville to take these pictures for Gatlinburg families free of charge.
I'm just here to act literally as a microphone for them to share their needs.
Even for Mayor Warner and his family, who lost their home and business.
And their daughters hadn't seen the home until today, so to be with them during that moment, I mean, as you can imagine, they were all crying, there were a lot of tears.
It's a way they all agree in helping to tell their stories.
Get our story out there of survival and hope and faith.
Showing that Gatlinburg is mountain tough.
We come together as a community, we survive, and please come back and visit because this is what Gatlinburg's all about.
Tonight, Gatlinburg fire victims, of course, still wanting answers, but one move is making that impossible. You see, Sevier County District Attorney Jimmy Dunn sent out a letter back in December, and in it, he urged agencies to not release any information on the wildfires.
Well, we wanted to know, can he do this? WATE 6 on Your Side's Kelly Reinke digs into this a little bit more and speaks with a homeowner about his need for closure.
Dean Cato is picking up the pieces, putting back together his Chalet Village home after it was burned to the ground during the Gatlinburg fires.
That morning started calling about 9-10 o'clock. No, everything's fine. It's just the smoke being blown in from the chimney tops.
He calls 911 several times that day,
assuring me that everything was fine.
But 30 minutes after his last phone call, fire closes in on him and his family.
Angry. I'm incredibly angry. I'm making choices for my family's safety based on what they're telling me.
No warning.
Go, 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 go.
His family quickly escaping with others.
Oh, Chalet Village is on fire.
This inferno.
Why wouldn't you be incredibly safe than sorry?
But this is making it hard to answer Dean's questions. A letter from Sevier County District Attorney Jimmy Dunn. In it, he says any release of information about the fire's destruction is extremely premature and could compromise the investigation into the two teens. It goes on to say agencies cannot respond to requests for information about the response to and investigation of this fire.
We've never seen a DA basically say that the emergency response to a fire is confidential until I say it's not.
Deborah Fisher is the executive director for the Tennessee Coalition for Open Government. In a column, she writes the people of Sevier County deserve to know how officials responded.
Their taxpayer dollars fund the emergency response infrastructure. They fund the protocols. They fund the employees.
So the question is, does the district attorney have the authority to bar this information?
It's somewhat of a surprise.
The short answer is no. Criminal law professor Dwight Aaron says District Attorney Dunn has no lawful authority to withhold information.
The best that the DA could be doing is requesting it, and another official is willing to comply with it.
So he says these agencies could release these public records.
10/4/13/19.
Like 911 calls, and not be punished. I sent several requests to the city of Gatlinburg, Sevier County, and the Great Smoky Mountain National Park Service for those documents. Weeks have gone by, and yet I'm still being told those requests are being processed. Sevier County says it's speaking with the DA's office to see what can be released. But this email from the Sevier County Dispatch says it's not authorized to release any of the 911 calls at this time. The city of Gatlinburg says something similar. In this email, it tells me the records are related to an ongoing criminal matter and are confidential. It also says once the criminal matter has concluded, the city will provide me the records.
Maybe you want to happy district attorney's office, and in case some issue arises with respect to the fire department, that there's an investigation that is needed.
Aaron says it's typically a judge who tells agencies to withhold information to maintain a fair trial. But he says in juvenile court, there is no jury, so there shouldn't be concern about a fair trial being compromised compromised. Aarons thinks this letter may be preparing for a move to adult court.
Trying to stop there from being too much pretrial publicity so a defendant could not later say, I had no shot at having a fair trial.
But a lot of the questions that we have nothing to do with the 2 young men who started the fires.
For many wildfire victims, like Dean Cato, it's these unanswered questions that now burn inside.
We're supposed to live in a country where we don't cover things up.
Dean wants to know why he's having to cover up this painful memory so he can find some closure. Reporting from Gatlinburg, Kelly Reinke, WATE 6 on your side.
Now, Professor Aarons believes one of the only ways to get this information right now is to go to court. At this time, there is no clear idea of when this information will be available. We did reach out to District Attorney Jimmy Dunn for an interview. He said no to our request.